what you do every day defines who you're going to be. You need to believe in yourself, right? We all have a special magic that we need to share with the world. And the first step is believing in that magic. No one else has that but you.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. Today, we're talking with two guests who have made it their mission to empower women who struggle with self-confidence so they can tap into their inner alpha. Okay, they're about to share their story, exactly who they help and why they do what they do. As for me, I'm Tanya Eberhardt, founder of BrandFace, where we help experts and entrepreneurs differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding. And normally at this point of the podcast, my partner, Michael, would be chiming in right now. You guys have probably seen him before, but he's been actually kicked off of today's podcast, and for good reason. It's all about women today. All right. I'm proud to announce that we have two amazing women on I'm sharing the mic with today who created a company called She Alpha. Yes, Michael, you're not invited. Welcome, Jenny Ramirez and Laura Del Carmen. Hi, ladies.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
You're so welcome. You are so welcome. Like, I've had the pleasure of talking to you guys before, and now I'm so excited to have you on the Be Bold branding, because it's all about being bold with your personal brand. And you ladies just really have done such a phenomenal job with that. She Alpha. So I want to talk to each one of you. And Jenny, if you want to go first, I just would like to hear a little bit of your story. Tell us, what got you to this point that you're at today. And was there a specific event or even maybe a special person in your life that shaped who you are and led you to this place?
It's been a long journey, so I'll make this a short one. But, one of the things that I will tell you is that a lot of things led here to this moment, to where we are today and where we are with the company. I think initially being an immigrant, coming with parents that were also immigrants, and then building on that foundation of figuring things out on my own and learning the little things that I needed to build on that American dream. But having to go through that by myself and alone, and not having that supportive journey, whether it's other women or other parties or just people in leadership in general to help guide me. I think that's really what pushed us forward on this mission to start She Alpha, because we know that we weren't getting the support that we needed. We were two women, we were very independent, but we had to work really hard for everything. On my personal journey, I've gone through a lot of mental health issues. And because of the system, I think I pushed forward in becoming a coach at some point. And I wanted to really focus my attention on helping women who were going through the same thing and saying, you know what, you're not the only one. You're not going to be the last one, but there is a way for you to thrive, even with all of these things that you're going through. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm going to let Laura take it away with her journey as well.
Perfect. Absolutely. I will say that I will echo what Jenny says. It has been definitely a long journey. And one thing that Jenny didn't mention is that we have been friends for 18 years. So
Yes.
It's been, we know each other. Like you were saying before, Tanya, like we can finish each other's sentences, and we're so different, but yet so goal driven and so goal oriented. And I will say that that's one of the things that led us to She Alpha. Like Jenny mentioned, we didn't have any role models. We were very driven. We knew we wanted to succeed, reach that American dream, but we didn't know how. And a lot of times it was through books. Books is one of the things that Jenny and I share in common. We love books, self-help books. That's how we learn everything we know today. And books are at the very center of our company as well. We can talk a little bit later about that, the book clubs that we hold. But and then in person, I have like Jenny, I came to this country at 14 years old with my mom. I put myself through college and had to learn everything on my own. Now I have a almost 9-year career in Wall Street, and holding this company together with Jenny, and it's been a journey to say the least. But throughout those journeys, the one thing that was in common was that we had to kind of learn things on our own. I had to learn things on my own and push myself through those things. So that's a little bit about our story.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start with all this because, when I was a little girl, my mom used to tell me, if it is to be, it is up to me. Right. I'm
Mhm.
sure you've probably heard that
Mhm.
before. She didn't invent it, of course, but she used to say that to me. And I felt it at that age because I just felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I had a support system. I had a really good family that was just always behind me and supported me. But I still felt like, gosh, if this is going to be done, if this dream's going to be, conquered, if I'm going to achieve this goal, it really is up to me. And I can't imagine what it feels like to come here with the American dream, right in front of you, because it is the land of opportunity. It's a wonderful place. But you come here, still without that support system and not knowing like step number one, right?
Mhm.
So I guess the question for each of you, I'd love to hear both your answers on this. When you don't have that support system, or the self-confidence to kind of be that self-starter or to even know where to go, where do you start?
I would have to say, for me personally, it was books. I'll tell you a funny story. When I didn't know the language, you said you didn't even know step number one. You didn't even know the language. You don't even know how to communicate, right? And being a teenager, that's really tough. So for me, it was books and movies. I always liked books. I always liked reading. I remember dialing one of those calling car phone calling cards, and it was the option press English or Spanish, and I always used to press English because I was like, eventually I'm gonna get it. And so it was that self-motivation, and through books and through listening to movies and things that were out there in front of me, that was how I got started on my journey.
What about you, Jenny?
It's very similar. Honestly, I did depend a lot on books as well. I think it was one of the foundations that it just got me to going. Every time I didn't have an answer. And at the time when we came to the United States, internet, it was not where it is right now. We were still in the times where it was making those sounds, waiting to connect. So we didn't have all the resources available at the time. And I think the library served a huge, huge, huge payment for me. And I just started reading about everything I possibly could to absorb the knowledge.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So give me some examples of some of the, like maybe 2 or 3 of the best books you've read that really helped put you on the right path and just kind of shaped more about the human being that you are today. Let's start with you, Jenny.
There's an author, and I love this author. He's actually a Mexican author, and it's Carlos Cuauhtemoc. He has so many different series of books. And this author not only talks about the way of life, but the way that you should see meaning and how to validate yourself, but also find meaning outside of yourself to understand others. And I think that those kinds of books, his books particularly, is what made the hugest impact for me because it allowed me to be open to the world, not just stay closed off. I come from a culture where, you're told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So I think moving from that and coming to America was one of those things that I really needed to be open to. And he helped me with those books.
You'd think sometimes being told what to do and how to do it would be some sense of comfort because you don't have to think too hard about it, right? But it really
I don't know.
doesn't.
I've been in the military. I wouldn't
There
say
you
that.
But it really doesn't like allow you to be independent, right?
Right.
At some point, as Laura said, hey, at some point I knew I had to learn this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Laura?
So for me, I still love self-help books in general. When I don't know something, I reach for a book. So there's a lot of books that come to mind, but most of the most important ones talk about habits, because what you do every day defines who you're going to be. So one of the books that comes to mind is The Power of Habits. And that book was very big for me. And just like knowing that if I want something done, I have to adjust my habits and the things that I do daily in order to achieve them. That and some other books that come to mind is The Four Agreements, because
Yes.
that's a classic, and I feel that it helps you figure out internally what you want to do and who you want to be, because if you don't know those things, then it's really hard to move on.
That's very true. One of my favorite books as well. I love it. Your love of reading, both of you, you mentioned a book club. You guys have a book club. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's, the book club has transformed so uniquely. When we started the company, the initial mission wasn't the book club. But then we realized that not only was there a market, but we were able to connect with women in a different way through books, because we were able to have open conversations and really dive into what are the needs right now. Because we can sit here and talk about a million skills, but how are we actually applying it? How are we learning? And how are we making sure that you add that to your day-to-day life? So our book clubs now, it's uniquely created in a way where we obviously select the books, but a book that specifically teaches a lesson or a skill. Not too long ago, I think one of my favorite ones was actually the one we did on negotiations. And we broke it down. Each week we were practicing negotiations with the group of ladies that we had. So we weren't just reading. Now we were also saying, hey, go out to the world and practice these skills. Come back, tell us how it goes. Let's revisit that. Let's see how we can tackle that next week. Let's see how we can evolve that skill so that you're comfortable when you go out to the world. You're ready to do negotiations on your own, whether it's in your professional life or your business life. And it's really the dynamic that we've been able to build with that community.
I love the fact that you bring people together with that, because that's something seriously that they can do in their own time. Like you don't have to all get on a call together to read it, right? You read on your own time, and then you jot down your thoughts about it, and you all come together and collectively share those thoughts. And I love that whole forum aspect of it. So tell me, a lot of times you hear people talk about changing your life and really teaching people how to step outside those comfort zones and gain that self-confidence and a lot of the things. But a lot of times people don't always talk about the steps that you utilize to do that. So Laura, can you tell us a little bit about, like, when somebody comes to work with you guys to say, okay, you know what, guys, I'm lost. I have some self-confidence issues here. I have goals. I don't even know where to begin. What do I do? Take me through a little bit of the journey of what it would be like if I came to you and said, help.
Absolutely. One of the first things I would say is you need to believe in yourself, right? We all have a special magic that we need to share with the world. And the first step is believing in that magic. No one else has that but you, right? So that'll be the first step, believing in yourself. Then the second thing is making sure that they're connected with the right people. So that's one of the things we do a lot in our community, making sure, okay, are you looking to start a company based on beauty? So we have a few people that have beauty companies. Let us connect you with them so they can hopefully become mentors. Are you looking to build something over the internet? So just defining what is the type of industry that you want to get in. Do you want to get into corporate? We have a lot of connections in corporate. So being that bridge for that individual, it also helps a lot with their confidence. So they see other women that have made it in the way that they're looking to make it. Right. And then the next step would be following through. You said you wanted to do this. You now connected to these people. It might get hard sometimes, but you have to keep pushing, being in entrepreneurship or in corporate. So those in my mind are the first few steps, right? The follow through is very important. And I don't know, Jenny, if you have anything to add, but I feel like those are the first few steps.
Yeah, no, those are actually one of the things that we also do in the community is we set up a lot of coaching calls. So we make it available. Anybody, for example, the book club, we tie it into a coaching session. So they can book us at any point and we sit out with them and really talk about, well, let's define those goals. Let's see what you want to do, just like Laura mentioned. And then we go through the process of following up afterwards, not just telling them, hey, you follow up with the company, but we also follow up with them and figure out exactly, well, where do we need to go from here? And I think that that's the support that I was talking about earlier. We want to make sure that they feel what we didn't feel when we had to figure things out on our own.
So out of those 3 steps that you just mentioned, just like believing in yourself is key. And absolutely it is. And then connecting them with some type of a mentor who's kind of been there and done that. Right. And then taking action in the follow-up. Where is it that most people falter?
I think we're thinking the same thing, Jenny,
Yeah.
right? The follow-up. The follow-up is where they falter. this was a good idea when I thought about it. Now it's getting really hard. I'm not sure if I want to do it anymore. And then they lose the connections, they lose the desire to continue. And that becomes the hardest part, where Jenny and I need to step in and say, hey, you told us this is what you really wanted. This is your goal and it's still out there. What can we do to help you?
And how many are you usually able to turn it around for them?
Yeah, you know what? I have a very specific story that I can share with you here.
Please.
We did a public speaking book club last year, I believe, and we made it to where the company that was a Dale Carnegie institution, the
Yeah,
foundation, the Dale Carnegie Foundation. So we reached out to them, and we always have a finale surprise guest speaker. So we got one of their organization leaders to come out and talk to the ladies in the group. We challenged them and we said, you know what, prepare your speech. We're going to select 2 out of this whole group, and you guys are going to deliver your speech for somebody in the Dale Carnegie organization. And with that, they're going to give you feedback. You're going to know exactly what you need, because these were women that were going to deliver their message to either investors, or they were trying to open their company and pitch to other audiences. So the 2 ladies that we selected, one of the ladies was actually falling back, and it was because that follow through, that last part. It's like, oh, well, I know what I want to say. I'm just really nervous. I don't want to go through with this. We had 2 discovery calls back to back with her to sit down and figure out, what are your ideals? What are you really trying to say? How can we help you navigate through this? How do we make sure that you deliver this? And the day of, she wasn't going to show. And we said, do you really want this? If we have to hold your hand, we will, but you have to want it first. And, through that, she decided to show. She did her presentation. It turned out great. Now she's doing this on a day-to-day basis. And to us, that's the process that we really want to get to, because we want them to have the courage to do this. So when they do it, now they're fearless out in the world. And this was one of the ones that was like, okay, this makes sense to us. This is why we do this.
I love that story. It kind of reminds me of like training wheels on a bicycle when you're a kid, right? And your parents are like pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. And one day it's time to take off those training wheels. And you're like, what? Do I really want to do this? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then all of a sudden they keep pushing you. They keep going with you. And next thing you know, it's like you've been pedaling on your own for like 10 minutes now. Right. So it's kind of that, if you can envision that as a kid, it's kind of like that mentorship, which is, I love. We had somebody come into our BrandFace program not too long ago, and it was the very first time this question has been answered this way, which really just took me aback. And I thought, how brilliant. We asked the question, was there any person or mentor? Do you have any person or mentor in your life that's helped you get where you are today? And she answered, books are my mentor. And I'd never heard that answer to that question before. And so what you guys are doing is brilliant, because you can have the greatest mentor in the world. You can have Zig Ziglar or Dale Carnegie or Tony Robbins or anybody like that as a mentor, right? And like all the wisdom that they have is inside those books. So it's almost like you're sitting right across the table from them, being personally mentored, right? But then when it comes right down to somebody calling you up and texting you and saying, hey, you need to show up. I mean, do you really want this? You can't substitute a book for that, right?
Exactly.
100%.
I don't think that the books talk yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. And it's like those things, right? That's why you have this group of women, this circle around you to push you, because it's not just Jenny and I mean, we're talking about a group of 20 women, around 20 women that show up to this book club, and they have each other's back. And it's so beautiful to see their relationship develop and, pushing each other through and cheering each other on. It's absolutely amazing. I'll give you another example. We recently finished reading The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And one of the women in the group, she has a corporate job, and she's been wanting to make that move after the pandemic. She worked from home for 2 years, almost 2 years. And she's like, I'm not going back. I can't do this. And the 4-Hour Workweek gave her step by step what to do to get out of that corporate career. And, she actually ended up going into another corporate job, but it was remote. And that's something that the book addresses. How do I convince my employer to go remote so that I can own my time. And I know the time that I have to work, I don't have to work 8 hours a day. I can manage my schedule and actually be more efficient. So she was able to do that through the book club, through us encouraging her. And she said the information that she got, not just from the book, but from the group, was invaluable.
Oh, I can easily see that. I mean, what you guys do at She Alpha is like helping people own their destiny, right? Because it's like, what do you want out of life? Well, if so, own it. And we can help you own it, right? We'll take you step by step through this. I love what you ladies are doing. I really do love it. So now we're at the point podcast where I'm going to ask you 5 very important questions. You can take turns answering them, or you can both chime in to each one. Either one is fine. But this will give everybody else a perfect idea of, whether they're a really good fit for you guys. So, number 1 question: what sets you two apart from other women in your industry who are also mentors and coaches for women?
I can take that, Jenny. I would say that coming from the background that we came from, not having that mentor, that person to look up to, we really truly care. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs say this, but we really care about each individual in our community. We have talked to mostly everyone. We have learned about their journey, and I think that's what really sets us apart, that we're so passionate about it that if we have to not sleep to make sure we get to that person and they reach their power and their destiny, like you said, it's actually on us to do that. And I would say that's what sets us apart. One of the many things that sets us apart is that we are very invested in each individual, and we truly care.
You take full ownership of helping them gain their ownership, right? Like you really do. You really do. Jenny, anything else you want to chime into that?
No, she said it perfectly. And one of the jokes that a couple of my colleagues always say is, you guys invest to the finish line. And I'm like, yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do
like
it.
that. You take full ownership, you invest to the finish line. I like it. You see how that vibe just comes out about you guys? That's your brand, right? Okay. Question number 2. We'll start with you, Jenny. Exactly who do you serve? Who are your ideal customers?
Particular women who have been through a lot. And I say this because if you have been on a battleground for a long time, feeling defeated, like you can't do this, and you just need a new light, you are our ideal client. And the ages, we can get into demographics, but really range between that 25 to 35 range. And it's mainly women that have gone through a lot. And I say this because you have to be fully transparent with being okay, with being vulnerable when you come and, work with us. That's one of the things that we ask, because once we go into diving into what it is that we can get you to, that's the start. You have to be okay with being vulnerable and transparent. So if you have gone through a lot and you feel defeated, you are somebody that we are looking to work with.
A safe place.
Yes.
A safe place. I love that. Laura, any addition to that?
I would say that it doesn't matter if you want to make it in entrepreneurship or corporate. The beauty is that Jenny is a multi-entrepreneur, and I'm in the corporate business as well. I'm in corporate America. Jenny was in corporate America herself. So we kind of have the background to work with both. So that's one other thing that I would add.
Perfect. Okay. Number 3, how do you serve your ideal customers? Exactly how?
I can take this one. We have both coaching sessions. We have different events that you can partake in. One of them, our famous one, is the book club. Everybody loves that one. But we also have other events that are coming up that focus specifically on skill development. And we also like to connect women with mentors. So those are the 4 pillars of our business.
Okay, awesome. Laura, any addition?
I would say that we also connect through the podcast. That's one place that we've shared so much. So Becoming Alpha podcast, that's where we interviewed you, Tanya. That's where we share our stories. We bring guests and make sure that they share their stories, because a lot of times I feel that as humans, we learn through stories. We love storytelling. And
we do.
That's one of the beauties of podcasts, that you can get somebody's story without even having to sit across the table from them.
Okay. I love it. All right. Number 4. Now you may have answered some of these, before, but you can articulate it differently or just state it again if you want. Number 4, what qualifies you to serve these women?
I can go from it. So like we said before, our background, where we came from, making it from nothing to where we are today. And also the fact that so we have the background of corporate and entrepreneurship. We actually care, like I said before, we do care immensely a lot about what you want to do with your life. So that's one of the things. And we also have a background, and both of us have a background on coaching as well. So that's one of the things.
Okay. Hey, we had some technical difficulties here and we lost Laura for a minute. Hopefully she'll be back in just a second, but we're going to move forward with Jenny, and Jenny is going to finish out this question of what qualifies you to serve your ideal customers.
I would definitely say it's our extensive background. It's our ability to be able to be there for you step by step through the process. But more so, it's also our connections. I think in the past couple of years, we've really built on that. And I would say through my personal businesses and Laura through her corporate leadership, we've been able to bring not only ourselves, but definitely a team of individuals that are going to be there full on supporting you through your goals, through whatever you want to reach. So I would say that in itself is not only rewarding, but it's not something that you can get everywhere else.
That's very true. Very true. And, you know, two women that came into this country with a lot of obstacles, you know, in their way, and also two that have experience in the corporate world and the entrepreneurial world. So there's a lot, you know, in your corner, Jenny. All right. Okay. So we're going to tackle this last question, and it's our favorite question. How does it make their life better?
It's going to get rid of your limiting beliefs. I'm going to say that. And it's a very short answer. And the reason for it is because I think as women, we already fight battles on a day-to-day basis. And reaching those goals is just another step to getting to know yourself and understanding that you are capable. So when you work with She Alpha, it's not just about us helping you achieve those goals, but it's us helping you move out of your limiting beliefs and start believing that you are capable of achieving anything you can possibly imagine.
Yeah. I love it. And you start with two amazing mentors in your corner that have connections to many more, guys. So how can prospects reach you if they have questions or if they want to work with you, Jenny?
Yes, please reach out to us directly. If you listen to this episode today, and by the way, thank you for being with us today, because you could be anywhere else, but you're listening to us. You can reach us at info@shealphaco.com, or you can find us on all social media platforms at She Alpha Co.
Oh, perfect. Jenny, thank you so much. And I'm sorry we lost Laura, but hey, we'll get her back again sometime.
Yes.
But thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. You guys are such bright and shining stars, and I wish you all the best. You provide so much for women, and I know what that feels like. So I appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you so much for having us.
You bet. Okay, guys, if you learned something today that helps you or inspires you, we encourage you to like it, love it, share it, and ding, subscribe so you can be the first one to learn about the next episode. And I'm going to finish off Michael's part here since we kicked him off of the podcast today. It's all about being bold, because this is Be Bold branding. And as Michael says, prosperity favors the bold, guys. So be bold, especially with your brand. Thank you so much, ladies. And we'll see you next time on Be Bold Branding. Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.